If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derrick Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. The stock market seems to react quickly to any new economic numbers that come in. But should you do the same? Here's Matt Orton. He was with Raymond James, and he said this recently on Fox News.
We all know the economy is starting to slow. We know there's cracks starting to form in the labor market. We know the consumer is starting to slow down. But what is evident when I listen to all of the different corporate earnings reports, when I go talk to consumers and I travel around, people are still spending money and corporate America is continuing to do well. So when you put all of that together, I think it paints a reasonably bright picture for the overall economy, and it gives me optimism in this bull market going forward.
Well, optimism, I love hearing that, by the way, but I want to know, how successful are you, Derrick, when it comes to getting your clients to kind of tune out all that noise?
Absolutely, Jess. I have very, very good examples of this in my household. I have two father-in-laws, and they love the news, and they love talking about it when I go visit them and everything. But it's definitely one of those things that I tell our clients, and I tell my father-in-laws, control what you can control. That's the biggest thing, and it's hard for people right now, especially with the election and everything else that's going on, is that it's overwhelming. Just let's be honest, right? The news is exciting. That's what they want. They want this drama. They want you to watch, and all this chaos that they put out is important to their marketing. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it's not how we should be living our everyday. Just, I mean, you shouldn't be afraid to spend money and things like that, but that's what it causes. And it goes back exactly to what I just said: is control what you can control. Jess, I'll tell you, you can control a lot of things in life, but there's also a lot of things you can't control. If inflation continues to go up, can you control whether or not it goes up or down?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Can you control who wins the election other than you voting?
Nope.
No. Right? So to sit there and brew and stew on those things is not good for you. But what you can control is hedging your portfolio.
Sure.
Right? Making sure you have dedicated income streams and escalating income planning, by the way, to combat inflation. If inflation continues to go up, guys, you need an income plan of how your portfolio is going to adjust to that. You can control things like how you're diversified and what features you have and maybe long-term care plans, because that continues to go up. There's a lot of things that we can't control in life, but your money is not one of them. I absolutely will tell you every single time, if you're listening to this, take control of your money. Take control of your finances, and it starts with calling us and putting a plan together. Don't just sit there and not have a plan in place to address all these things and just put your head in the sand or stay up all night and worry. The first thing you do every morning just should never be to turn on the news and check the stock market.
Yeah, probably not the best way to wake up, right?
Yeah, I mean, have a cup of coffee, FaceTime with your grandson or whatever it may be, but don't be a slave to what the market's doing in that fear, because there is a lot of volatility in the market. A lot of, honestly, just quite weird things we're having to hedge against, whether it's good earnings reports that just kill a stock price to something that, hey, it didn't have a really good earnings report, but all of a sudden it's up 15%. There's a lot of things that are out there that you can't control, but coming to us, we can help you control them as well, such as that.
And Derrick, I wouldn't be doing my job if we didn't discuss the election in some form and capacity here. I think at this point, you already know who you're voting for, so you're kind of relying on or hoping that person's going to win and all the promises they're making to you. And that goes to promises about taxes, the market, the job market, your Social Security. That's a big conversation right now, too. But should we really put that much stock in weight in who's going to be in the White House when it comes to either doing or not doing things with our income and our money?
Well, that kind of goes back to what you just said, Jess, and the non-emotional approach. Because I'll tell you, the emotional side of me and the emotional approach says yes. Oh, yeah, depending on who gets in the White House, I'm going to adjust everything. I'm going to go all into cash if X person gets in the White House or whatever. I'll tell you, logically and analytically, no. Look, whoever gets in the White House, these are plans that are right now speaking points. That's all they are. What actually occurs, what passes Congress, all those things, it takes time. A lot of times a president comes in for the first year or so, you're really inheriting what the previous president did. You can't just turn off and on the lights. Things takes time. And although there might be an immediate short-term kind of blip in the markets, it's not going to drop off the face of the earth if your president doesn't get elected, guys. I'll tell you, it's not going to happen. It never has in the history of America reacted that way. But once they get in, you start hearing proposals of what they're going to do. And if it gets close to passing and then it passes and everything like that, yes. But this goes back to like what we just talked about, Jess, is like control what you can control. Is when things like that happen, if they stop taxing Social Security, which, by the way, they shouldn't. I mean, just being honest there, that's ridiculous that they tax Social
Yeah, they
Security.
shouldn't tax it after you've already, right, exactly.
Yeah, and I know technically it's not a tax upon a tax, but don't you feel like that, Jess? That's just like...
Yes, I do. The IRS isn't enough in my pockets. Get out.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. But, those are some of the proposals that we're hearing, and how they tax inheritance and things like that. But these are all proposals, guys, and they have to go across the aisle to make these a reality. So it's going to be something that we start to see trickle down, and you will see an effect on the economy, but it's not going to be overnight. So you don't have to worry about that. You can go to sleep on election night, and no matter who wins, you're going to wake up the next morning, and it's going to be okay. But, yeah, that's a huge fear. We're getting a ton of calls about that, so I understand that people are upset, but we try to put a logical thought process in place, and we look at history, and we really just try to dive into that. But it's one of those things that just goes back to controlling. If you're worried about the election right now and where your funds are, 100%, if you're listening to this, you are not in the correct plan. You're not diversified well enough, and you don't have that sense of, hey, I'm going to be okay that everybody looks for in retirement. You're in the wrong portfolio. You're doing things wrong. And you need to give us a call because you should not have that stress. You should not be that involved with who's going to be the president of the United States when it comes to your money. Right? I'm just talking about the money side. Let's keep that in mind. So, but yeah, it's something. So, Jess, what do you feel like? I mean, are you?
Well, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think there's certain decisions that are going to be made, no matter who's in the White House, that are clearly going to affect individuals financially, what they do with their money, how they invest, maybe even when they retire. But I agree with you. There's only so many things we can control. And I'm with you. If you're sitting up at night, just, not sleeping, wondering, oh my gosh, who's going to win this thing and which one's going to take over, you're clearly not in the right position. You shouldn't be feeling that way both now and even after the election. You should have a some sort of plan in place. And that goes for if you're 5 years from retirement, 10 years from retirement, 2 years from retirement. You should have a plan in place knowing that, okay, no matter if option A or option B wins the election, or maybe taxes go this way or taxes go that way, my plan's going to withstand whatever is in these uncontrollables out there. And that's exactly what Derrick and I are talking about here. And, Derrick, you say it all the time, give me 2 hours to give your boss 2 more years. So we're talking to you listening right now that's still working for the man, wondering, how am I going to keep doing this? Well, we want to answer your questions, take that fear and anxiety away, and again, give you part of your life back. So give Derrick 2 hours to put a plan together for you and tell your boss, hopefully, maybe even 2 years, if not more, earlier, that you're done with this 9 to 5. You're going to go on with a happy retirement no matter what's going on in politics and whatnot. So if you were to inherit money, how long do you think you could make it last? Well, research shows that if you're getting $5,000, $50,000, or even $500,000, the money would be gone within 2 to 4 years. And one study shows that when someone inherits money, they're going to buy a new car within 19 days. So, Derrick, how can you help somebody make their inheritance last much longer?
Tell them not to buy a car.
I know. Who goes out and buys that? That was staggering to me. I'm like, of all the things I would pay off or buy, a car would not be one of them.
Cars, boats, and RVs. Guys, everybody listening there, if you just want to set money on fire, go buy one of those 3 things or all those 3 things, whatever it may be. But terribly depreciating asset here. So, and unfortunately, this speaks to me. I see this on a yearly basis, guys. There's always an inheritance case that makes me shake my head, in quite honesty, and some that I'm like, man, you're really taking this inheritance and just taking it to the goal line kind of thing. So, we had a client in his mid-40s here that inherited over $1 million, Jess. So this was just 6 months ago. He has $200,000 of the $1 million left.
What?
So, yep. So he spent $800,000 in 6 months. Because let's be honest, we are good at spending money, right, Jess? If I gave you a blank check, you could spend it, right?
I'm pretty good at that, yes.
Yeah, we're all good. That's not the hard part, right? It's in fact, we're generally really, really good at that. So he did start off a couple different things, like to pay off debt and everything, but then he bought a brand new house. Then he bought a brand new car. Housing, real estate, it appreciates, it goes up and everything, but you have to live somewhere. So he didn't need a new house. He didn't need a new car. He really just kind of blew through this, just being honest with you. And it was very frustrating from a financial advisor standpoint, because now he's coming back and reversing course and saying, man, I did a lot of things wrong. I didn't listen to you, and here I am. And on top of that, he's 45, and he's like, well, I don't want to retire early. And I'm like, well, you could have, but now you're going back to work. So when you have an inheritance that doesn't enhance things that are important to you, that's the big thing. Is if you need a house, buy a house, guys. I'm not here not to tell you that, but there's a difference between wants and needs. And the leg up that you get when you get an inheritance, like if you get $30,000, 10, 20 years from now, you're giving up the time value of money. That $30,000 you inherit today is worth over $100,000 in 15, 20 years. That's what you're giving up. So the inheritance that you receive, first of all, taxation-wise, very, very tough these days. That has to be done very specifically. Like if you have an IRA, especially in certain circumstances, you may have to drain it all in 10 years. Well, you need a plan for that inheritance and how you're going to get rid of those IRA funds with the least amount of taxes, because the government will come after you with these. That's what they're designed for. That's why they change the laws surrounding these. And even non-brokerage, bank accounts, CDs, stuff like that can cause tax implications for you that need to be addressed day one whenever you go through the grieving process and everything, obviously. But those are the things you need to come see us on before you just start spending money left and right. Because what I haven't told you, too, in this story is that he's looking at about a 35% tax burden come February.
Whoa, ouch. Man.
So he's going to start getting these 1099s. We talked to him, and I told him, that $200,000 you have left, you better save it because you're going to need it.
Yeah, you
are.
are.
All over you on taxes. So, and this is one of those things that, once again, didn't listen to advice, and those things happen. But I also have a fantastic feel-good story, right, Jess? I got
Bring us back up, Derrick.
Yeah, I got to come back with a good one, And, it was 7 years ago I took on a client who was 25 years old, and unfortunately his dad passed. So terrible story to start off with and everything. But he inherited right around $200,000. And what does most people at that age do when they have that? They inherit that, right? They blew it all. This kid was, I wish I was as good with money when I was his age as we are now, but he really took my advice to heart, and he's really saved and positioned himself that if he continues to work and do the things that we've talked about, Jess, I'm telling you, he's going to be one of those that we read about where he's 45, 50 years old, and he's on a beach somewhere.
Wow. Well, good for him. That's awesome.
This kid he's saved. He even with his portfolio that he's created himself, he saves. But if you take those funds, guys, that you inherit, it can change your life. Yeah, it can buy things. But put that money where it's important to you. If you want to retire early and you want to do something fantastic with those funds that you receive, out of sight, out of mind. Get a plan together. Call us today. We will show you exactly how to deal with all the pitfalls of inheritance, like taxation and what to do with the funds. and put together not only just an income plan for you later on, but we call them legacy plans. Before you even take this money and start spending it, we're going to put a plan in place for you. And yeah, if you want to buy a new car, I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of that. I'm going to tell you what you're giving up, because most people don't understand what they're giving up long term. And if you still decide to buy that car, hey, great. It's your money. It's there for you to spend. But 9 times out of 10, when I tell people what they're giving up long term, no, I'm good with my 2015 Chevy right now.
Now, I kind of want to shift the conversation here to talk about our good old friends at the Fed Reserve, right? We've been hearing talks and talks and talks from them, I feel like literally all year. And supposedly now they're expected to begin cutting interest rates. But how much is the question? Wall Street is 90% sure that it will be 0.5 point. But the Morningstar economist Preston Caldwell thinks the Fed will stick to a 0.25 point cut. Here's what he had to say.
The Fed is so close already to achieving its goals on inflation. And it's clear that if the economy slows down further, then victory over high inflation is a foregone conclusion. It will happen very quickly. It's just a matter of time. So there's really no reason for the Fed to keep rates at restrictive levels, given those facts. But the Fed also doesn't want to be seen as panicking unless there really is something that's screaming emergency in the data.
All right. So, Derrick, I'm just going to let you have this one. What are your thoughts?
My brother there, Preston Caldwell.
Derrick Caldwell, for those that don't know.
Yeah. It's, I tend to disagree with him. I think they're going to do 0.5% cut, but even 0.25%, what we're going to see in the fixed income market is they're going to start to go down, guys. So that goes from everything from your CDs to, bond yields, things like that. Are all going to be affected, some positively, some negatively. One of the biggest things is multi-year guarantee annuities, which are a vehicle for fixed rate guarantees. I've done some of the most phenomenal fixed rates I've ever done in this industry in the last year and a half. And now's the time if you want to lock in longer term, and these fixed annuities, they go from, anywhere from 2 to 10 years that you can guarantee a portion of your funds at a great high yield. Because that 6-month CD that you just did, guys, at 5%, if you're lucky, is the next 6 months when it renews, it won't be 5%. If you're leaving a lot of cash on the sidelines and everything, you need a plan for that cash, because sitting around going, hey, well, when they lower rates, then I'll kind of deal with it, or whatever keeps you on the sidelines with a huge amount of cash, because that's what we've seen over the last several years, Jess, is just, that since the rates went up and you could get 4 or 5% in CDs, people are hoarding cash. Warren Buffett is a big investor who's hoarding cash, and he's doing it for a little bit different reason, but it's, people are hoarding cash in that. So they're going to start to see those yields go down in their savings accounts, CDs, things like that. Now's the time to give us a call and lock in some of those rates, whatever rate term you feel comfortable with, between 2-10 years, a portion of your funds. Let's grab that, because that 5-6% rate, it won't be here 6 months from now. It won't be here from a year from now. You got to do something now, so you can't wait, because all these yields are about to go down. You're about to lose income stream off of this.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derrick or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyle Wealth Management, a Texas registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.